And you talk a lot about social behavior and social thing. What's the biggest thing right now is social media.
Yeah.
All the platforms and what has a role done social media really played for community involvement? Does it make it easier or harder to get volunteers, to get the money?
Yeah.
It's a monster between all that social media and all that you read online. How do you do that? Or what is the community involvement? Does it make it easier or harder?
Well, it makes it easier. It certainly has its share of social issues that it brings to the table. Facebook and Twitter and Snapchat and all this stuff. And anybody who's raising kids today knows exactly what I'm talking about. It brings its share of challenges, but it also is a great organizing tool. And with crowdfunding for projects and initiatives, very important and a quick way to be able to generate low dollar donations from a broader amount of people rather than going back to the same people in our community that have a little bit of money and they get hit up by everybody. How do you spread that out and democratize that a little bit so that everybody can chip in $5 or $10 for a cause that they may think is noble for the community?
Yeah, there are a lot of GoFundMe's out there nowadays, and sometimes it's the notion of, is it real? Because we see a lot of things like that, and we talk about. You mentioned earlier about you did service. You're a graduate of Warren JFK. I'm a graduate of a Howland Tigers, so we know how that great rivalry and respect on either side. And I totally agree with you that we all had our volunteering when we got young, and we were very fortunate enough to do that. But let me ask you this. When you volunteered back in high school, your heyday of sports and really being a part of Warren JFK, what were some of the volunteer things that you did back before you became in public office?
Well, I remember having to put on my high school football jersey and go to the grade schools and read to the kids and take pictures with the kids and make the kids feel good and try to help them out and provide a little bit of a leadership role. We would go to nursing homes and we would hang out with senior citizens who didn't get anybody to go visit them. We would have to go. And I remember going the one time and I met somebody, an older woman, and her nursing home facility wasn't far from my house because I lived in Niles, but I was going back and forth to Warren to school. And I would periodically just pop back in and see her, every month or two. And I think I would have never thought of doing that, or I would have never had the exposure to do that if somebody didn't say, hey, we're going to go visit a nursing home and say hello. And that's why I think providing that leadership for people when they're younger, whether it's through your church or school, is really important.
And I agree with that. You hope to raise your kids in a good fashion as well. I mean, we're not perfect. That's one thing that I can admit to. I am definitely not perfect. We're fortunate that we hopefully learn from our mistakes, which I wish I would know what I knew now back when I was in high school.
Well, I'm in on that. When do we get to start over?
Yeah, when do we get to go back 15, 20 years and say, I wish I knew what I knew now to help me better prepare me for the world? Because as you know, you listen to your parents or you don't listen to your parents, and you parents raise you to be the best person that you can be. And I think that shows the notion of what the Mahoning Valley does. I think everyone looks out for the Mahoning Valley, no matter if we have a person that's sick or the opportunity to rally around a cause. I think you've been across the country. You've been all over with other representatives in their districts in a variety of different ways. How does Ohio or Mahoning Valley compare to those other districts, in your opinion, in that regards to really rallying around that?
We live in a very, very special place. And I think there are a lot of examples of, fish dinners and chicken dinners that churches or families put on if they know somebody that's sick. And that does happen in other places around the country, but there's something about the smaller towns. There's something about the close-knit community that you have. The school that you go to is important, and that becomes a family within a bigger family. And your church that you go to becomes a family within a bigger family. And so there's just something about the small town touch, the small town connections that you lose in some of the bigger cities. And again, I just want to make the point that it's important for us to help each other with, GoFundMe campaigns and volunteering in our church or school or whatever the case may be. But it's also important for us to translate those values into public policy. You know, we have a big country, we have a wealthy country, we have a big state, we have a wealthy state for the most part. But a lot of people can't participate in the healthcare system or in the educational system or, you know, be in a good school district or live in a good zip code. And we have an obligation in some sense to try to help those people too through the systems. Now the problem today is the systems are older systems that were built on an old economy for an older time. Now our job is, okay, these systems clearly aren't working for huge swaths of our population, not just in the industrial Midwest, but you go to San Francisco and walk down the street and there's homeless on the street. And everybody thinks, well, San Francisco is a very wealthy area, and of course it is. It's the home of, you know, all the technology companies, but there's still homeless people on the street. Something's going wrong. The system clearly isn't working. And I think that's what everybody's feeling now. So we've got to volunteer, we've got to have the local touch, the local commitment, but at the same time, we've got to start making our government work better in order to make sure that we can help these local nonprofit groups alleviate some of these problems.
Yeah, and let's go back to that real quick on the healthcare and nonprofits and how that's working. Do you think nonprofits play a major role down the road with healthcare and basically anything that has to do with less fortunate individuals or families?
Well, you know, it's going to depend on if we can get the healthcare system doing what I think ideally it needs to do, and that's cover everybody, make it affordable. And I realize, and I think a lot of people do, that there's going to be wealthy people who are going to get better coverage than everybody else. I mean, that's just the way it's going to work, and I don't think anybody needs to necessarily apologize for that. I think what we're saying is most people should have access to good quality, high quality health care. And so now a lot of the nonprofits fill in some of the gaps there. But hopefully the goal is that they don't have to, and maybe the nonprofits can help with other things other than care, because there's so many other costs that are associated with getting back and forth to chemo treatments or dialysis or those kind of things. And maybe there's a role for nonprofits in that area, but at the end of the day, we've got to agree as a society, look, everyone's going to be taken care of here.
And I think I agree with you. There should be something with healthcare. I mean, anyone with a pre-existing or anything like that needs healthcare, everyone should have the opportunity to have healthcare. Yeah. I appreciate what you're doing and what you've done. And so in the last, and we'll finish up on this question and everything. So you've been a congressman for, I think, 15 years.
15 years.
What's the experience like?
It's a phenomenal opportunity. It's really, I really enjoy it. Even today when it's crazy. I mean, it's chaotic. A lot of things don't make sense. I still enjoy helping people. I enjoy learning. It's an opportunity to constantly be learning about what's going on in the world. Traveling to different places in the Persian Gulf and Kuwait and other countries in Asia, and learning about the role of the United States in all of these different areas and how big our responsibility is, and then learning about the ships and the planes and the missile defense systems and all the things that we use and sell and train people to operate in order to protect the interests of the United States. There's always something to be learned throughout the whole process, and all on behalf of helping people here in places like Youngstown.
Yeah, and we appreciate you sitting down and taking the time with us.
Man.
And it's always good to see you. I don't know what's better, your coaching or your basketball skills. Just to let you know, Congressman Ryan played in our charity basketball Game of Hope, I think about 4 or 5 years ago. Then he coached. What's more better, playing or coaching?
Coaching.
Okay.
I can walk the next morning.
You go. Well, we appreciate you taking the time with us, and we'll be having periodical reviews with a lot of different community leaders and people around the Mahoning Valley, and we'll talk about, please volunteer for your organization or nonprofit locally, and we thank Congressman Ryan for taking his time out.
Thanks, man.
Anything you'd like to add to end it, or pretty much
Covered it all.
Covered it all, and we got to eat some MVR.
Let's do it.
Yeah, we thank you. You guys have a good night. God bless.